Here on Wham Baam Dashcam, we've shown you over 1,000 dashcam videos sent in by our fans, and we serve up 20 new ones every week. Today we're showcasing some of the craziest clips we've ever featured, so buckle up for Wham Baam Dashcam's Worst Drivers of Indiana, Volume 1. Jan was out getting lunch for herself and her husband before he went to work. When the light turned green, she started across the intersection, but she never made it to the other side. Jan told us an 81-year-old man ran his red light, T-boning her Chrysler minivan at 60 miles per hour and sending it 500 feet down the road. First responders arrived quickly, and the driver of the... Wait, what is that? Wow, this has got to be the Honda bump to end all Honda bumps. Anyway, the Honda driver told the police that his light had been green, but they pointed out to him that he'd actually had a green right turn arrow. Jan was taken to the hospital where she received treatment for a head injury. The 81-year-old walked away unharmed. Sadly, Jan's van was totaled. The other driver's insurance provider paid Jan and her husband $12,000, and after medical bills and legal fees, they ended up with $5,200, not enough to pay the $6,200 they still owed on the van. Eric sent us this footage from a dashcam in a company semi-truck. Eric told us this truck was being driven by Quincy, who wasn't hurt when an oncoming semi was hit by a hydroplaning SUV, sending it into the temporary median barrier. The impact sent the Jersey barriers sliding into Quincy's lane, where they were struck by a car that had been passing Quincy's Peterbilt. The highway was shut down for cleanup, and Eric told us police responded in under 5 minutes. Ryan was driving past a construction zone when the driver of a Mazda CX-30 turned in front of him, leaving him no choice but to T-bone her SUV. Even though he slammed on his brakes, Ryan's Hyundai Sonata still hit the Mazda with enough force to send it flipping upside down as it collided with a Toyota. His own car then rolled into a Dodge SUV before stopping. All told, this ended up being a 4-vehicle collision, with at least 3 of them being totaled. Thankfully, the Mazda driver admitted fault, preventing a lengthy collision investigation. Interestingly, Ryan told us the police claimed in their report that Ryan hadn't attempted to brake, but his dashcam footage showing the cross necklace on his rearview mirror flying forward proved that he had. Viewers ask us all the time which dashcam they should get, and Ryan is actually using one of the models we recommend. Check the description to get an exclusive discount while we roll the next video. Zach was on his way to pick up pizzas in his Nissan Leaf when he watched another driver cut through an open gap in traffic, and it didn't look like this was the first time this driver had made this lapse in judgment.
Guy, that's probably how that happened in the first place.
Obviously, that driver should not have proceeded before it was clear, but I can't help but notice this wouldn't have happened at all if the driver of the pickup truck hadn't yielded the right-of-way. Close the gap. There is absolutely no reason to leave an opening for someone to exit a parking lot, and doing so will only pressure other drivers into doing something reckless, like turning onto a road where they can't see traffic. Needlessly yielding the right-of-way when not required may seem like a helpful gesture, but it isn't courteous, it's dangerous. Close the gap. Jade was driving a Freightliner semi-truck when the driver of a car lost control while avoiding a pickup truck that had slowed down to pull over on the left side of the highway. Jade told us the driver of the pickup was stopping to see if the driver of the white car needed help. Jade had seen the driver of the gray car on his phone before losing control. Jade stopped to check on the driver and he was fine. Luckily, Jade's trailer was empty at the time, or else the truck might have been too heavy to slow down so quickly. The driver of the white car fled the scene and was never found. This submitter was on his way home with his wife after picking up some winter tires when they watched several drivers eager to get through a traffic light slam on their brakes to avoid collisions, not all of them succeeding. The driver of a white Suburban failed to stop before rear-ending a red Ford pickup. The impact pushed the pickup into the back of a black hatchback, making this a 3-vehicle collision. Thankfully, our submitter told us there didn't appear to be any injuries as the involved drivers exited their vehicles and began documenting the damage. Our submitter wanted to shout out his children Kira and Connor, who both love all the Wham Bam channels. Mike was on his way to work in Michigan City, which is in Indiana, go figure, when he watched a passing driver lose control on the icy highway. Even after that close call, the Toyota driver evidently didn't learn their lesson about driving too fast for conditions. Mike told us he made sure to keep his distance as he continued. He also thanked us for only posting exclusive dashcam videos, or trying to anyway, unlike other channels which repost videos already posted on other channels and websites. Some slip through, but we do our best. Thanks, Mike. Ainsley was on her way home after a day of shopping with her mother when she merged into the exit lane in preparation for her upcoming exit. Another driver flying up behind her went for the same exit way too late. After swerving hard to make the exit, the other driver ricocheted between the guardrails before coming to a stop. Thankfully, no other vehicles were involved in the collision. Ainsley's fiancé James is a former firefighter and EMT, and he was following a few vehicles behind her when this happened. He pulled over to help, but thankfully the driver wasn't seriously injured. Sean was headed home after watching an eclipse with his mother when he had to stop for traffic at a red light. The driver of another pickup truck didn't notice his Chevy Colorado before slamming into it from behind. Sean went to check on the other driver and he told us he smelled something weird. Thankfully, a police officer they just passed witnessed the collision and immediately responded. The initial repair estimate for Sean's Colorado is $10,000 US, but the other pickup had to be towed away. The police report was completed 3 days later, and Sean told us the other driver was both intoxicated and distracted. I've heard of drunk texting, but drunk texting while driving is next level dangerous. Thankfully, Sean and his mother are both okay, but he said they may end up paying a $1,000 deductible to get his truck fixed. Trevor watched an SUV check the curb at highway speeds. Ouch! Trevor told us he had just finished passing this driver when they sped up to cut him off before smashing over the island. He also said there was a 100-foot gap behind him they could have used instead. This submitter watched an SUV driver make a right on red when traffic wasn't clear and run into an oncoming Honda Civic. Our submitter had to swerve hard to avoid being struck by the Honda after the SUV sent it hurtling toward his GMC Acadia. He told us both drivers stopped and waited for the police to respond. Whenever we show a right-on-red collision, our non-American viewers are shocked that such a thing is legal. The important thing to know is that it's only legal after coming to a stop and only if there's an opening in traffic. The vast majority of rights on red are performed safely and they greatly reduce congestion at traffic lights. Even so, I'm looking forward to more intersections being replaced with roundabouts, which are much safer. Joseph was following a tow truck down the interstate when the car it was towing suddenly lost its bumper cover and Joseph wasn't able to avoid running it over. A pickup truck pulling a trailer was in the lane to Joseph's right, and swerving left at over 50 miles per hour would have been extremely dangerous. Hitting the bumper cover not only damaged his own, it also scraped the side of his Nissan. Joseph caught up to the tow truck and got the name of the business, then called the Indiana State Police to make a report. In total, $4,100 in damage was done to his SUV, and he'll be driving a rental vehicle until it's fixed. His insurance provider is pursuing the tow truck company to pay for the claim. Trevor was driving down a highway when he began passing a semi-truck on the right. Suddenly, the trucker began changing lanes without signaling, forcing Trevor to swerve right to avoid a collision. As he swerved, a Tesla driver in the right lane took to the shoulder to avoid rear-ending Trevor. Thankfully, no collisions occurred, but Trevor wanted us to remind everyone to use your turn signals when changing lanes. Audrey was stopped behind an SUV waiting to turn when Yep, she was rear-ended by a Ram pickup. Go ahead, make your jokes. Audrey's phone called 911 automatically, and police and paramedics arrived quickly at the scene. Sadly, her Chrysler Sebring had to be towed away. After the repair quote climbed to $11,000, Audrey's car was totaled. Thankfully, she wasn't seriously injured by the collision. This happened 2 days after Alex paid off his car. He was on his way to a car dealership to check out a new vehicle when a Dodge Charger drifted all the way across the road and sideswiped his Mitsubishi Mirage. Both drivers pulled over and Alex called the police so they would come make a report. The Charger driver admitted fault and said he hadn't seen Alex. Thankfully, nobody was injured. What makes this story even crazier is that the Charger driver had just left the DMV after getting license plates for his car. It sounds like it was a bad day for everyone. Zach was on his way home after a long workday when the driver of a slow-moving Kia SUV cut across a gore point in front of him while he was going 55 miles per hour. Only by slamming on the brakes and slowing to 35 miles per hour was Zach able to avoid slamming into the back of the Kia Sportage. He said that as his tires screeched, he could see the Kia driver laughing in their side view mirror. Right after that, a biker who'd been behind Zach went around him to yell at the Kia driver before riding off. Zach told us the Kia driver then followed him off the highway, eventually flipping him off before parting ways. Yikes! Luke was headed south on I-69 when he suddenly encountered an SUV stopped on the inside shoulder. Even though he tried to swerve around it, he couldn't avoid a collision before getting rear-ended by another SUV. Sadly, Luke's 2020 Honda CR-V was totaled. First responders arrived minutes later, but thankfully nobody was seriously injured. Luke used the $17,000 insurance settlement to buy a 2024 CR-V. Luke wanted to thank the first responders as well as his supportive friends and family. Brett's wife Kelly was on her way to work when she witnessed the two cars ahead of her suddenly collide. It seemed like one driver was turning right, but as the driver behind them began accelerating to continue past them, they suddenly started making a U-turn, and the other driver wasn't able to avoid T-boning them. Kelly stopped and provided her contact info to the driver of the red Nissan Altima, letting them know she had dashcam footage of the collision before continuing on her way to work. Cooper was proceeding with a left turn after his light turned green when he watched an SUV driver from the left blast through their red light. In spite of the fact that Cooper and the driver next to him had taken their time entering the intersection, the SUV barely avoided getting T-boned by the white Chevy. Thankfully, neither it nor Cooper's Hummer H3 were damaged. Seth was on his usual route to work one morning behind a van. When the van reached the top of the hill, the driver encountered an oncoming SUV that had drifted into his lane. The driver of the van was a father taking his 3 kids out for breakfast. Even though he'd swerved to avoid a collision, the SUV still hit his van and sent him off the road and into a ditch. The SUV's front wheel was busted and it skidded to a stop. Seth rendered aid to the occupants of the van while others called 911. Thankfully, there were no serious injuries. Seth shared his footage with the van driver and the police. The driver of the van checked on the SUV driver and told Seth he seemed intoxicated. But Seth left after giving his statement to the police, so he doesn't know what else happened. Seth told us he loves our videos and encourages everyone to install dashcams in their cars, just like he did in his Nissan Leaf that identifies as a Tesla. He said, "You'll never regret having a dashcam." Speaking of wheels being ripped off, check out what Luke witnessed as he approached an intersection. An SUV came flying through a red light, slamming into another and sending its rear wheel bouncing down the road and into the side of a pickup. Luke left once first responders arrived. Trevor watched a semi-truck nearly sideswipe a Ford Mustang before the Mustang driver hopped a curb to avoid a collision.
What the you doing?
Trevor honked to alert the trucker as the Mustang bottomed out on the traffic island. He noted that both drivers turned onto a side street, but he doesn't know if they stopped. Kyle was driving in freezing mist. Evidently, the driver of the pickup behind him wasn't happy with his speed and had been tailgating him for a while.
Are you kidding me?
As soon as an opportunity presented itself, the pickup driver passed Kyle over double yellow lines before clipping the corner of his Hyundai Tucson and speeding off. Kyle pulled over and waited for the police, then provided them with his dashcam footage. Unfortunately, the pickup driver is still at large. This submitter watched an oncoming driver run a red light before getting hit by a pickup truck pulling a trailer. After the Chevy pickup struck the GMC SUV, our submitter told us both drivers appeared unhurt as he continued past them. After an oblivious SUV driver made a questionable turn across traffic in a work zone, forcing a trucker to swerve around them, Alexander watched a sheriff's deputy take off after them to deliver some instant justice. We've all seen drivers make dumb mistakes and create dangerous situations, but it's not often that we get to see a cop hold them responsible. Gotta love it.
Wham, bam, we got a Patreon man. Please support the show.